Self-leadership is the real superpower. Are you a leader? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a business owner who leads a team? Are you someone who has a responsibility to a certain organization? Do you have responsibility around leadership? For me, a lot of leadership coaches, a lot of leadership insights, it's all to do with how you manage other people. How would you lead them? How would you focus on them? How would you get the best out of them? However, the real superpower is self-leadership. How do you manage yourself in all areas of your life that allow you to be the best leader for those that you lead? Now, you don't need a title to be a leader. Literally, to be a great human, to be a human individual, is to show great leadership skills. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 pillars of self-leadership, how you can start to understand that each one of these pillars are not just mutually exclusive, they work with each other. And when you start to understand the context of these pillars, in the context of how that impacts your emotional intelligence, your spiritual intelligence, and how you deal with people, it's a game changer. So we're going to focus on where most leaders go wrong. And we have this notion that leadership is about being loud, about being present, about having authority, and about having power. Yes, there's elements of all those things, but there's another level. Leadership is all about positioning for respect. It's a positioning for how others can feel inspired. It's helping you as an individual tap into other people's potential. This notion I've talked about in a lot of videos is that we don't really know our own potential. It takes others to see our potential. And we live in an age now where AI is taking over the world in all different aspects. Think about this. 5 years ago, somebody who's busy doing some stuff, right now, the thing they were doing 5 years ago that took 8 hours of their day and they're busy, now AI can do in a matter of minutes, if not seconds. So what are they busy doing now? For me, there's an opportunity now to reconnect as humans. There's an opportunity now to what I call get around the campfire. There's an opportunity now to have more conversations, to be more strategic, be more visionary, to create massive change in the world from a human level. I believe there's a paradox here. People think that AI, with the advent of AI and the access to AI, means that human connection will be lost. For me, it's the complete reverse, is that AI enables us now to get rid of all the mundane tasks that we just sort of focused on, pressing the button and sort of being, in, out binary. And now what are we going to do? It requires us to reconnect with ourselves, to have conversations, to be visionary, to understand that actually we can create something great in the world. But it starts with yourself. How do you manage yourself? It's not about managing others. We have this tendency that, how do I talk to others? How do I build rapport? How do I sell to others? How do I do stuff? Which is great. But if you're coming from a place where you're misaligned, if you're coming from a place where you have an empty tank, if you're coming from a place where you don't know your purpose, you're not living by your values, you're not aligned, how in God's name are you going to be able to inspire others? You're not. And a lot of the misalignment, a lot of the disconnect is that people are being leaders, they're going out there, they're on this sort of warpath of changing the world, but their own self, how they manage themselves is not there. So hopefully this video will give you some insight in terms of actually, what could we be doing differently? Is self-leadership the power, the secret power? And I believe it is. You see, the human edge now is the inner edge. It's what's happening inside you. We've all got strategy. You can Google, you can use all the different tools, ChatGPT, whatever it is, to search knowledge, to find out the how and what to do. But it takes the human instinct, the inner edge, to elevate. And this is the opportunity. And this video, what I'm going to explore with you is how you as an individual, whether you're leading a team, whether you're a one-man band, whether you're a C-suite executive, whether you're an entrepreneur, a new business owner, startup, whatever you are, as a human, you're a leader. And you're a leader of men and women. But you've got to lead yourself. Because if you don't lead yourself, you cannot lead other people effectively. So now let's look at the 5 pillars of self-leadership. Pillar number 1, clarity of intent. This is all about your vision, your values, your purpose. If you don't know where you're going, any distraction won't feel like progress. And the key to self-leadership is knowing that where you have complete clarity on where you're going, how you're going to do it, and the reason why you're doing it. Self-leadership begins with clarity. It's not about your task, it's your direction. Your vision gives you your North Star. It tells you where you're going, where you're heading towards. Once you know where you're heading towards, everything else starts to become clearer. Your values are your filter, they're your anchor, they determine your behaviors. Because once you operate from your values, you operate in alignment with what you want to achieve, and everything starts to flow. When things aren't flowing, when things aren't misaligned, it means you're not really living your values. And this also determines the right and the wrong actions. And your purpose is your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? It's your reason why. It's the thing that you go back to when you question everything. It's the thing that you sit back and think about, actually, when things aren't going well, this is the reason. So once you have your purpose and your why, it makes it easier to stick to your vision. Now, when you think about it, leadership is just about a positioning, about where you're at. And when you haven't got clarity about where you're aiming, the reason what you're doing, and you're living by your values, it just seems a mess. It seems chaos. There's nothing wrong with chaos in the moment, but there's definitely wrong with chaos when the bigger picture isn't clear. Think about this. When you get in a car, you don't get in a car and say, well, where do we go? Well, you know where you're going, right? You have a reason for going there, and then you take the actions. And it's no different in life and no different in leading yourself, because a leader who doesn't know where they're going, a leader who doesn't have a sense of purpose, a leader who doesn't live by their values is not an inspiring leader. And it's not someone that people want to follow. People want to follow people who know where they're going, who have a sense of purpose and commit to that purpose. And pillar number one, having complete clarity about your vision, your values and your purpose is the foundation to great self-leadership. What you also find is that people who have great internal clarity have less anxiety, they suffer less stress, they have less decision fatigue, they make decisions really quickly because they know where they're going, they understand the process, they get things done. And having less anxiety by definition means you're more productive. It means you're healthier, which means the decisions you make are going to be much more better. So my question to you is this: can you tell me in one sentence what your current mission is? That means your mission statement is the thing you're aiming for, why you're aiming for it, and how you're going to do that. So each morning, a great question to ask yourself is, someone with my vision, someone that I want to achieve, what will they do? Who do you need to be today in order for you to make your vision and your mission and your purpose come alive? Pillar number two, emotional self-regulation, how you respond to things emotionally and your reaction. See, self-leadership is not about not being triggered. It's about how you, knowing you're being triggered, then you respond to it. It's how you regulate your emotions. It's not about not having the highs and the lows. It's not about being a robot. It's about being so highly self-aware that you think the emotion I'm about to express, is it going to serve me or not serve me? It's about pausing before you send that email. It's about taking a breath before you make that phone call. It's understanding where your emotions are at. See, as a high performer, you are going to feel stressed. As a high performer, you're going to come up with challenging situations. The key then is, how do you regulate your emotions in order for you to serve the people you're serving best, but also, more importantly, serving yourself. Taking that pause, not getting to burnout, not burning the candles at both ends, that you're to the point whereby you're just empty all the time. It's about being in a state whereby when you manage your emotions, in effect what you're doing is you're continually filling your tank. Because if you don't manage your emotions, you're reacting to stuff, you start burning out. You start questioning yourself because you think things aren't going well, you feel more stressed. When you're more stressed and tired, you're not going to make great decisions. And it's understanding that part of it. Emotional regulation is all about managing your internal state before the external environment hijacks you. Things are going to happen to you. Life happens to you. Self-leadership is about understanding your emotions. Do you understand what triggers you? Do you tend to be angry in situations that you don't want to be angry in? How do you respond to stressful situations? And dealing with emotions is like a muscle. It's like going to the gym. The more you practice it, it's not about avoiding difficult situations. It's not about being in the comfort zone. It's about stretching yourself, putting yourself into difficult situations, having those conversations that you want to avoid, having those not confrontations, but difficult interactions that mean it forces you to regulate your emotions. It's approaching people. It's dealing with the elephant in the room. Because the reason we don't deal with the elephant in the room is because there's certain emotions that we don't want to trigger. But is that serving you? So what's a great way to regulate your emotions? It's the old adage of breathing, taking a pause, breathing, breathing in, breathing out very slowly and intently, and taking some breath. It's amazing when you go for a walk, when you breathe, when you take time for yourself, you just regulate your emotions. You understand. Then you go to your logic brain, okay, what's the most appropriate way to react to this situation? What's the thing that I can do that means that will serve me and not make the situation worse? When you have that level of self-awareness and you manage your emotions, guess what? The people around you will recognize that and respond to you in a different way, in a much more intentional, positive way. Pillar number 3, discipline over motivation. This is all about setting your day up for success. It's all about micro goals and consistency. when you think about the people who achieve high excellence, high things in the world, the elite people in the world, whether it's business or sport or wherever it may be, is the difference between that makes a difference is consistency and persistency. They just go deeper. They look after the small things. They make sure they're highly disciplined in their habits, their behaviors, their thinking. And it's not often the talented that get the better results. It's those who are highly disciplined. Remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. Your habits determine everything. So does your habits serve you? What are the good habits that serve you in terms of creating what you want in your life? What are the habits that don't serve you in terms of, exercise, your content creation during the day, your discipline in terms of keeping your work, and all these things. And if I look at someone's success, I look at their habits. And if the habits are there, there's a correlation between how successful they are in all aspects of life, not just about health, wealth or money, but all areas of life. Motivation is sexy, but discipline isn't. Discipline is boring. Success, what gets you to success is boring. Yeah, the success itself might be exciting, but what gets you there is boring, but it's transformational. See, high performers don't rely on being inspired. They don't rely on being motivated. They rely on their discipline. They rely on what they want to achieve and then getting stuff done, getting things over the line. High performers create structure. They create routines. They create boundaries. They create discipline. They get things done. They commit to something and they get it done over the line. And then they don't focus on the outcomes they're going to get when they're doing the task. They just get the task done, because you can't control the outcomes. But what you can control is getting the task done. So you can be disciplined and persistent in those things. Momentum is built through consistency, not intensity. The thing with intensity, it's like high and low. It's full on and not full on, and that creates burnout. Whereas if you're consistent and saying, I'm going to do certain things at certain times of the day and being disciplined and get rid of the distractions, you'll get more stuff done over the line. Listen, we've all got 24 hours in a day. We've all, we have the same daylight hours more or less. But why do some people get more done in more hours than others? It's because of discipline and consistency and setting boundaries and saying, if you're going to do something, you get it done, get it over the line, and then you can go and do the other things you want to do. So here's a challenge to you, and I talk about this in some of my other videos about setting micro goals. What are the 3 goals that you can set every single day that set your benchmark success? That means you will be more disciplined. Because if you're more disciplined every single day, saying what you're going to do, getting those things done, you will achieve more. And also, you just feel good. The feel good factor is not to be underestimated. So when you feel good about achieving these things, your ambition and your courage to set bigger goals is much more greater. So set 3 micro goals every single day, make sure they're doable, make sure they're achievable, and make sure they stretch you. But make sure you set them in such a way you set yourself up for success and not failure. Pillar number 4, self-accountability. Now, one of the things that I think is the hidden secrets of productivity and success, and especially around self-leadership, is self-accountability. Right, look, you might be part of peer groups, you might have a boss or a leader that holds you accountable, which is great, and I would always advocate having an accountability group, accountability buddy or a partner to cajole each other, because when you've got someone else checking on you, it can create waves. But a superior level of accountability is saying, actually, I will do it because I say I'm going to do it. Accountability is a very intangible science in relation to how you set it up, but it's very tangible in terms of the outcome, because you can see what's occurring, you can see what comes out of it. So I talk about 4 different types of accountability when you're helping a team: task-orientated, goal-orientated, potential-orientated, and genius-orientated. But all of those can be applied to yourself. So self-accountability around task-orientated. Have I done the task I committed to? Simple as that. There's a task I'm going to do, I'm going to record this video, and we're going to get the video recorded. Simple. Goal-orientated. For example, is the thing I'm going to do align with my bigger vision? Well, I want to create a YouTube channel that helps people improve their leadership and improve their life lessons. So does this video do that? Absolutely. So there's goal-focused accountability there. Potential-focused accountability, based on the things I want to achieve in my life in relation to changing, helping people achieve their potential, is recording this video meeting my potential. Absolutely. So there's an accountability, there's a sense of purpose and potential that I'm fulfilling by getting this video over the line. And number 4, genius focused accountability. And this takes a step back. So when I'm thinking about all the different videos I want to create for this YouTube channel, is I'm tapping into my genius. What's the bigger picture here? What are the different subject areas I want to talk about that allows other people? So my task, it goes beyond what I want to achieve, and it goes beyond actually how am I serving the greater good? How am I serving the audience I'm speaking to that I want to serve? that allows me to get the task done. And when you have that dual sense of accountability, what it means to you and what it means to others, it can start to help you align yourself to your vision and your values. So why do people avoid self-accountability? Is it because of laziness? No. It's probably because of fear of failure, fear of getting it wrong, fear of judgment, and all those things that we know that impact us, but actually no one else thinks about. But we do. We have this boulder that holds us down, this invisible boulder, but no one else is judging us. They want to be inspired, and if they do judge you, so what? They're not the ones who are going to pay your bills. They're not the ones who are going to achieve your potential. They're not going to be the ones beside your deathbed and say, actually, how do you feel about not achieving your goals? You're the one who's going to feel that. So start to reform accountability in terms of being your support mechanism, being something that holds you to a higher standard, that allows you to achieve what you want to achieve. Because don't rely on the feeling of motivated, being inspired to get things done. Rely on the fact of discipline to hold yourself accountable. So each day ask yourself, what lens are you operating from today? Are you operating from the lens of what tasks got to get done today? Are you operating from the lens of what goals you got to achieve? Or are you operating from a higher lens on some days in terms of the potential? So you might be more strategic thinking. You might not be in a position to get stuff done, but you want to be more strategic. Sharpen the sword, as I say. And when you sharpen the sword, guess what? When you use the sword, it's easier to cut through because it's much sharper. And that's the key with investing in your self-leadership. You're sharpening your own sword. So when you are interacting with others, when you are there serving others, you're in a much more better state emotionally and in terms of making decisions. The final pillar of self-leadership is keeping your word. Now, this is a big one for me. Think about this. If all you had is your word and nothing else, how great would the world be? Imagine that you were forbidden to saying anything unless you kept your word. We have this notion where we commit to things because in the moment we don't want to seem like not a team player. In the moment we want to seem that, we get things done. But then we let ourselves down by not delivering on said tasks. We let others down. And when you let others down, there creates a bottleneck because they might be expecting something for you. You haven't delivered it. They've got to change their plans. How do you feel when someone said they're going to do something and they don't keep their word? None of us love it. So why do we do it? To hold yourself to a higher standard. One of the core aspect of self-leadership is clarity of intent. This number 3 about keeping your word, personal integrity, is at the core of everything around self-leadership. Because imagine this, imagine you were someone that people realize if you said something and you always kept their word, can you imagine the level of trust that people have in you? Can you imagine the level of respect they will have for you? And can you imagine the kind of opportunities that come to you just because you keep your word? Massive. Keeping your word is not just about saying what you're doing. It's keeping your word when no one's watching. It's your word based on your identity. What's your identity say about yourself? So for example, I went through a massive fitness and health transformation a few years back. No one knows what time I get to the gym. No one knows what I do there, but I know, and I know what I've got to do. So when I go to the gym, I'm disciplined in terms of what I do because at the end of the day, I'm the one who's got to live for myself. But take that to other areas of your life. Would you be able to keep your word when no one's watching? And when you can do that, your level of integrity, your level of alignment around your own self-leadership goes to another level. So my invitation to you is, whenever you're watching this, just for the next week, only do what you're going to say 100%. So you might be forced to say no to certain things. You might be forced to let people down, whereas before you'd commit to saying and then let them down later. But imagine for 1 week, I'm not going to do anything but keep my word on everything, not just to others, but to yourself, and see what the outcome is. See how your world starts to change when you keep your word to the nth degree. So these 5 pillars are not just ideas, they're tools. They're tools for you to use every single day. And when you use each of those tools, it elevates your leadership to another level. And when you start to focus on managing yourself, the idea of managing others becomes that much more easier because your emotional regulation is there. You're clear about what you want to achieve. You understand other people's emotions. You hold yourself accountable. You're disciplined in terms of your behaviors, and you are your word. And when you put all of those into the cauldron of how you show up, it's amazing how others show up. One of my greatest phrases, one of my favorite phrases, be the change you want to see in the world. And when you operate those 5 pillars to its nth degree, you will start showing up in a way that others cannot only be inspired, but want to follow you and will want to be around you. So where do most leaders go wrong around self-leadership? They mistake being busy with being productive. And I have this thing about using the word busy. I don't use the word busy. So let me ask you a question. When you think of the word busy, what comes up for you? What emotions come up for you? Now, in my when I deliver workshops to groups of CEOs and leaders, I ask this question. And what I find is 80% of the time, not 100%, because I can see that some people like the word busy, 80% of the time, busy is associated with overwhelm, stress, too much to do, all the negative emotions. So why use a word that creates those emotions? Now I can see that 20% of the time is people like the word busy. It means they're active, it means they get stuff done, which is fine, but the majority is negative. So you stop using the word busy. Think about this. What is busy? You're watching this video now. Are you busy right now? Well, you might say I'm busy watching a video. Well, no, you hopefully you're just watching this video. You're taking in the wisdom and the insights of this video, and you're just watching the video. When you finish watching the video, you do something else. You might go and watch TV, you might cook some food, you might watch another video, you might do some work. But when you're doing the work, when you're writing the email, write the email. When you're in the meeting, be in the meeting. When you're writing the report, write the report. What happens is we collapse all the things we do during the day: Zoom meeting, writing the report, replying to an email, sending the proposal, etc., etc. And you join all those things up and it looks like busy. But that in itself creates overwhelm. So stop using the word busy and stop accepting the word busy from other people. So if your team's saying, I didn't get X done because I'm busy, well, busy doing what? The expectation was to get the thing done. So have they chosen to prioritize something else? Or did they overcommit? Did they overcommit? Did they not want to? They're afraid to say no originally, so they said yes, and hopefully they could shoehorn it in. But that doesn't occur because they didn't get the stuff done. So you lose, they lose, and the task at hand doesn't get done. So it's understanding that if you start eliminating the word busy from your vocabulary and stop accepting it from others, see how much gets done. Another reason why leaders get things wrong is that they start chasing things without understanding what's the bigger picture. There's no internal compass around this. There's no internal reason. So you chase things, but for what? What does good look like? Do you understand what good looks like? So if you know what good looks like, if you know what team good looks like, you're on the same world path. So a great question to ask is, think of a task, think of a project you're working on right now, and just ask your team, based on a particular milestone, what does good look like? And see whether it's aligned with what you think good looks like. And if it isn't aligned, there's a different conversation to add. So where does that lead? What kind of different conversation needs to be had in order for you to lead the team in such a way that you're all aligned on the same hymn sheet? Another situation where leaders get wrong is they start outsourcing blame. One of the caveats of self-leadership and growing your self-leadership is taking ultimate responsibility for everything. I mean, radical responsibility. So when something goes wrong, yes, you question, yes, you wonder what's going on, but then you say, what did I not do? Or what did I do that facilitated that? Did I not ask a question? Did I assume something? Did I give people more grace than needed? Am I empowering them to such a way that they feel empowered, or empowered where they feel scared to make a mistake? You want them to make a mistake, but you also want to regulate and improve processes, improve tasks. When you want to outsource tasks, don't outsource responsibility. Be responsible for everything, but give people make people empowered in order for them to take the task on board. Another area that leaders get wrong is emotional leakage. That means when they're angry, when they're stressed, when they're feeling anxiety, they put it onto others. Look, an example I use is I'm a parent. My children are older now. But if you're a parent, if you're around young children, how many times that you've had a stressful day, you're not a great day, you go home and your child comes up to you, they're really excited to see you, and you sort of shut them down and you tell them just to be quiet. Now, they've done nothing wrong, but because of what's gone on during the day and you're stressed out, the emotional leakage on them goes on them. And then there's a situation there that it's not none of their doing, they're just excited to see you. And that happens in work as well. That happens in the workplace, whereby sometimes we expose our emotions onto others when they don't deserve it because we haven't regulated our emotions. So as a leader, you've got to really recognize and really be aware of the impact of your emotions on others, good, bad, or indifferent, and making sure that the more you regulate your emotions, the less emotional leakage there will be on others. So how do you start to build these daily habits to improve your self-leadership? Number one, in the morning, first thing in the morning is wake up with clarity. What is the purpose today? Based on your vision, what's the thing that you want to create? What is the why? what's the values you want to live by, and what are the tasks that you want to employ. And for me, the morning is the key. And I'm not saying you should wake up at a certain time, or whatever time you wake up, is make sure the first hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, whatever is possible, you sharpen your sword. And the key is to make sure, what does good look like today? How are you emotionally regulating yourself? How are you making sure that you are in a state that serves you and the team, that you are in the best mindset to get things done? So are your tasks clear? Are the reason you're doing tasks clear? When things aren't going well, what is your fail safe to make sure you get back to regulating? Is it going for a walk? Is it taking a breather? Is it listening to music? What is it? So the key is to start with clarity during the day. The second thing is to make sure you know what good looks like. Set 3 micro goals, 3 micro tasks. You might have a to-do list, long to-do list, but out of that to-do list, what are the 3 priorities? What are the 3 things that you want to do today that make sure you win today? Because when you get that right, everything starts to flow during the day. Give yourself a daily feedback. Be your own regulator, right? Give yourself feedback. Were you pleased with your performance today? Without judgment. Don't judge yourself. Where you don't beat yourself up, be kind to yourself, but be hard, be disciplined on yourself. Did you get things done? If you didn't, why not? Is it because you set yourself up for failure and you weren't in the right headspace to do it? Did you set too many tasks? Because once you start to self-regulate yourself without judgment, you will start to improve every single day. Manage your state. Health is wealth. If you have your health, everything starts to matter. If you don't have your health, nothing matters. So look after yourself. I can't underestimate, drinking water, having the right nutrition, moving and exercise are key to setting your mind. Your mind will operate better when you move your body. When you feed your body with the right way, your mind moves better. And that is a key fundamental of regulating yourself and regulating your self-leadership. And the final thing is detach from outcome. Focus on the process. Detach emotionally from the outcome. The outcome is something we cannot control. Yes, we want outcomes. We want deals. We want success. We want clients to be happy and all these things. We want all those things over here. But all you can focus on is the process you have. So emotionally detach yourself from any outcome. When they have good news, ride the crest of the wave. When you've got bad news, reflect. If there's anything you can do about it, is there more communication? How do you reset yourself? What can you done differently? So understand those emotions, understand what you need to do. So rounding it all up, there's a lot here around self-leadership, but everything's intertwined. We talk about the 5 pillars of leadership, but they're all intertwined. And when you start to understand how each one works for you, it's better. Now, I don't know where you're at right now. I don't know where you're at with your self-leadership. I don't know where you're at in terms of your emotional awareness. But my invitation to you is this, is look at one pillar. Look at one pillar and say, okay, what score would you give yourself out of 10 on that one pillar? And anything below a 5, pay more attention to. Pay more attention in terms of where you need to self-reflect. Do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor you can speak to? If not, drop me a DM. I'm happy to have a conversation. Look at each pillar, and those above 5, double down on those things and what you can do. But make sure you check yourself in every single week. Check yourself every single week to see where you're at, to see where you're progressing, and see where you can improve. So for me, I have a weekly meeting, not only with myself, with my team, and ask 3 questions. What went well this week? What didn't go well this week? What do we want to achieve next week? And you can ask those 3 questions to improve your self-leadership and be the best leader you can. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please do drop me a DM, send me a message, let me know how you get on, and I look forward to serving you in further videos.